Every month, the average retiree spending time on the road in a diesel RV hands over somewhere between $300 and $800 just to move, just to keep the generator running, just to stay warm at night. That's not a vacation budget. That's a second rent check written out to a system that was never designed to give you a way out. And if you're living on Social Security or a fixed pension, you already know that number doesn't stay the same. It goes up every single year. But here's what nobody is telling you. The problem isn't the price of diesel. The problem is that you were handed a lifestyle built on monthly dependency, and nobody warned you before you signed up for it. Today, we're going to look at one idea that a small group of engineers are quietly working on, a Tesla-based motorhome running on solar energy and a battery the size of a small room. We're going to break down exactly what it could do, what it can't do, and the one thing you absolutely must understand before you get excited about the idea of zero fuel costs. Because if you misread what this technology actually promises, you won't save money, you'll spend more. The trap nobody warned you about. Let me paint you a picture that a lot of retired men in this country know very well. You worked for 30, 40 years. You did everything right. You saved, you put in the hours, and when retirement finally came, you told yourself, I'm going to travel. I'm going to see the country. Maybe I'll buy an RV, park wherever I want, wake up with a different view every morning. That dream is real, and it's worth having. But somewhere between the dealership and the open road, something changed. The fuel receipts started adding up. The campground hookup fees, $40, $50, sometimes $70 a night showed up every week like a quiet tax on your freedom. The generator ran out of propane at the wrong moment. The maintenance bill for a diesel engine came in higher than expected, and slowly, without ever making one big mistake, you realized this freedom has a monthly payment, and that monthly payment doesn't stop. This is what I call the mobility trap. It's not one large cost that you can plan for. It's 100 small costs stacked on top of each other that bleed your retirement savings a little bit at a time. And the worst part? The system is designed exactly this way. Fuel companies, campground networks, generator manufacturers, they all win when you keep paying every month. So the question worth asking in 2026 is this: is there a way out? The idea that's turning heads. A small number of engineers, not Tesla officially, but independent builders and EV conversion specialists working with Tesla platforms, have started asking a different question. What if the vehicle didn't need fuel at all? What if the roof, the hood, and the sides of a motorhome were covered in next-generation solar film, a flexible, ultra-thin photovoltaic layer that harvests energy all day, even in partial cloud cover, and feeds it directly into a massive onboard battery? This is the concept behind what some in the EV community are calling the Tesla Solar Motorhome. And before we go any further, this is not a product you can order today. Tesla has not officially announced this. There is no MSRP, there is no release date. Anyone asking you to put down a deposit on something like this right now, walk away immediately. What we're looking at is a concept, a direction, an engineering idea that's generating real conversation because the underlying technology, piece by piece, is starting to become real. So let's break it down the right way, without the hype and without the buzzwords.
How the solar skin system actually works. Picture the roof of a standard diesel RV. Flat, wide, doing nothing all day but collecting heat. Now imagine that same surface covered with what engineers are calling a perovskite solar film. a second-generation photovoltaic material that's thinner than a credit card, flexible enough to wrap around curved surfaces, and significantly more efficient at converting sunlight into usable electricity than the bulky panels you might have seen on houses 10 years ago. This film isn't just on the roof. In the concept designs being circulated, it covers the full outer skin of the vehicle, the hood, the sides, even parts of the rear panel. The total active surface area comes out to roughly 400 square feet. On a clear day in the American Southwest, think Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, that surface could pull in close to 3 kilowatts of continuous power. Now, 3 kilowatts doesn't sound dramatic, but here's what matters. It's happening every minute the vehicle is sitting still. Parked at a campsite, waiting in the sun, even driving down the highway, the vehicle is quietly converting sunlight into stored energy without you doing a single thing. That energy goes into a battery system. In the most ambitious version of this concept, we're talking about a 250 kilowatt-hour solid-state battery pack, roughly 3 to 4 times the capacity of what a standard Tesla Model S carries today. That pack could, under ideal conditions, power both the vehicle's movement and its onboard living systems, lighting, climate control, refrigeration, water heating, for multiple days without any external input. The concept also incorporates regenerative charging. Every time the vehicle rolls downhill, brakes, or decelerates on the highway, kinetic energy gets converted back into electricity and fed into the battery. In mountainous terrain, some estimates suggest this alone could add 15 to 20 miles of range per descent. The pitch, in its most optimistic form, is simple: a home that charges itself while you live in it.
But here's what nobody's telling you. And this is the part of the video that matters most. Not the technology, not the specs. This part, right here. The concept sounds clean. Solar in, electricity out, no fuel bills, total freedom. But the real world doesn't work in straight lines. And if you're making financial decisions based on best-case scenarios, you're going to get hurt. First, solar is not unlimited, and it's not always available. If you park for a week under tree cover in the Pacific Northwest, which is exactly the kind of campsite a lot of retirees love, your solar input drops to almost nothing. If you're traveling in winter across Montana or the Dakotas, the sun angle is low, the days are short, and even the best solar film underperforms significantly. If it rains for 3 consecutive days, which it does in the South and the Midwest regularly, you're running on stored battery only. In those conditions, the 250 kilowatt-hour battery becomes your safety net, not your infinite energy source. And when that safety net runs low, you need a charging station, and charging stations charge you. Second, the battery itself is an enormous cost. A 250 kilowatt-hour solid-state pack at current manufacturing prices would cost somewhere in the range of $60,000 to $90,000 as a standalone component, and that's before installation, before the conversion chassis, before the solar film, before any of the internal living systems. The headline number you might have seen, $9,990, that's not a real purchase price for a finished product. That appears to be associated with a crowd-funded concept or a conversion kit deposit, not a ready-to-drive vehicle. Understand the difference before you ever consider writing a check. Third, there is no Tesla-certified technician network for custom conversions. If something goes wrong with the battery management system on a converted Tesla motorhome in rural Wyoming, you are not driving to a Tesla service center and getting it fixed in a day. You are potentially stranded, waiting for a specialist, paying for a specialist, and hoping the warranty situation, if there even is one, covers what happened. This isn't a reason to dismiss the concept. It's a reason to understand the risk profile before you get emotionally attached to the idea.
What zero cost actually means.
Let's talk about money directly, because that's why you're here. In the best possible scenario, you live in the Sun Belt, you travel between Arizona and New Mexico and Texas, the weather cooperates, you're not running heavy appliances overnight, and you manage your battery smartly. A solar motorhome concept like this one could genuinely reduce your monthly energy costs close to zero. That means no fuel, no generator propane, minimal or zero charging fees, just the sun doing its work. For a retiree spending $500 to $700 a month on RV operating costs today, that's real money. That's $6,000 to $8,000 a year back in your pocket. Over a decade of retirement travel, that's enough to matter significantly. But in a realistic mixed scenario, you travel across the country, you see different climates, you want to visit family in Oregon or spend a fall in New England, your solar income will vary wildly. You'll lean on grid charging more than the concept suggests. You'll still have charging costs. They'll be lower than diesel, but they won't be zero. And in the worst-case scenario, breakdown, battery replacement, complex repairs, a single major service event on a custom conversion could cost more than an entire year of diesel fuel. That's not a reason not to consider this technology. It's a reason to go in with your eyes open and a financial cushion in place. The honest framing is this. This isn't zero cost. It's potentially lower cost if you understand how to use it correctly.
The system shift you need to understand. Here's something that almost nobody in the EV content space talks about, and I think it's the most important context for anyone in retirement right now. When you buy a vehicle today, any vehicle, you're not just buying a machine, you're enrolling in a system. And the EV system is not the same system your current vehicle lives in. The network of charging infrastructure in the United States is still being built. In 2026, it's significantly better than it was 5 years ago, but coverage is still uneven. Rural areas, tribal lands, parts of the Mountain West, these are places where charging access can be sparse. If you're an RV traveler who goes off the main interstate corridors, that matters to you directly. Regulations are also evolving fast. Several states have passed legislation about where electric vehicles can be registered, how they're insured, what certifications a converted vehicle requires. A custom Tesla motorhome conversion may or may not be road legal in every state you want to travel through. And that's not a hypothetical. It's something you would need to verify in writing before committing. And insurance. The insurance landscape for EV conversions is still maturing. Some providers will cover a custom conversion. Others won't touch it. Getting the wrong answer on insurance in the wrong moment is one of the most expensive mistakes a retired person can make. You're not just buying a vehicle, you're entering a new system. And that system has its own rules, its own gaps, and its own learning curve. There's also a softer side to this transition that I want to be honest about. If you've been driving internal combustion vehicles your entire life, if you know what a diesel engine sounds like when it's healthy and what it sounds like when something's wrong, you've built 40 or 50 years of mechanical intuition. You know the warning signs, you know what to listen for, you know when to pull over and when you can push another 30 miles. With a large format electric vehicle, especially a custom conversion, that intuition doesn't transfer directly. The feedback is different. The warning systems are software-based. A battery management issue doesn't always make a sound. It shows up on a screen, or sometimes not until something has already gone wrong. That's not a reason to reject the technology. It's a reason to invest time in learning a new set of signals before you depend on them in the middle of nowhere. The men I respect in the veteran and retiree community are not the ones who refuse new technology. They're the ones who learn it before they trust it. That's the same discipline that kept them sharp in uniform, and it's the same discipline that protects their retirement today.
The real question underneath all of this, let me bring this back to where we started. The diesel RV, the monthly fuel bills, the generator costs, the hookup fees, these aren't just financial problems. For a man who spent his whole working life being self-sufficient, being capable, being the person who handled things, being locked into a system that bleeds you every month, that you can't opt out of, that gets more expensive every year, that's not just a money problem, that's a dignity problem. The appeal of a solar motorhome isn't really about technology. It's about the feeling of parking wherever you want, watching the sun do its work, and knowing you don't owe anyone a monthly check for the privilege of being free. That feeling is worth pursuing. That vision is legitimate. Think about what that actually looks like in practice. You wake up in the high desert outside Sedona. The sun comes up at 6 a.m., and by 9 you've already pulled in 2 kilowatt-hours of free energy. You make coffee, you run the heat for an hour. You haven't paid a cent. You check the battery display and it reads 87%. You decide to stay another night because the view is extraordinary, not because you already paid the hookup fee and feel like you have to get your money's worth. That's a different kind of freedom than what a diesel RV gives you. That freedom is silent. That freedom doesn't have an exhaust pipe. But, and this is the version of that story that matters, that same morning in a different month, in a different state, in a week of overcast skies, could look completely different. The battery might read 51% after 2 days of minimal solar input. You start making decisions based on range anxiety instead of preference. You drive toward the nearest charging corridor instead of the place you actually wanted to go. That's not freedom either. The difference between those two stories isn't the technology. It's whether you understood what the technology actually does before you committed to it. But the version of that freedom that actually protects you financially and practically is the one built on accurate information, not on the best-case pitch from a crowdfunding page. The technology is moving in the right direction. The idea of a self-charging mobile home is not science fiction, but today, in 2026, it is not yet a ready-made solution you can drive off a lot and rely on completely. It is an emerging option that deserves serious attention and serious scrutiny.
Here's what I want you to take away from today. The solar motorhome concept is real, and the direction is right. For retirees in the right climate with the right habits, this technology could genuinely cut your monthly road costs, not to zero, but far lower than diesel. That matters on a fixed income. But could is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Solar depends on weather. The battery is expensive. There is no certified service network for custom conversions, and nothing with a $9,990 headline is the full story. If someone is asking for your money before this technology ships from a real manufacturer, that's your signal to stop. This channel exists for one reason, so you understand what you're stepping into before you step into it, not after. If that's useful to you, hit subscribe right now. We publish every week, and next week we're going deep on something already in people's hands. A phone company promising retirees 0 monthly bills, no carrier, no contract. Sounds good. We're going to find out how good. Now, drop a comment below. I want to know one specific thing. What's your current monthly cost to operate your RV or vehicle? Fuel, maintenance, insurance, all in. Just give me a number, because next week's video is going to show you exactly what that number looks like over a 10-year retirement and what technology is actually available right now to change it. I read every comment. Your number might be the one that opens the next video. Stay sharp. Stay independent. I'll see you next week.